Hey guys, sorry my voice is still a bit weird. Today I'm going to be doing a last 6 months wrap up because I've read not that many books since June. So I'm just going to be talking about those, what my reviews were. So sorry, they're building a granny flat, so if you hear construction, not my fault. I've read 3 books since June to November. The first one being Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. I gave this a 5 stars, and it's not something I would usually buy, but I'm glad that I did end up receiving it because this book, amazing. I usually don't give smaller books 5 stars because there's not as much, you know, like world building and stuff like that, but this deserves every single 5 star. It's about a boy called, I think it's Yadriel, but I don't know how to pronounce it, so I don't think that's a pronunciation for it. But him like finding his identity as a trans 15-year-old, as well as acceptance within the family. And I don't want everyone to say what it's fully about because I know don't want to ruin anything, but let me have a look. Acceptance and getting family approval for being who you are, as well as finding love. Anyway, 5 stars, beautiful. I really recommend checking this out. It's trans Latinx. I loved it. That's the first book that I read. I think I read this in September, but yeah, I read it in a day. It was amazing. And then the other 2 books that I read from June to November was the Strange the Dreamer duology. I think I'm gonna give these both 4 stars. And I was kind of hoping they were 5-star books because I had a feeling that were going to be. I loved it. To say that this is one of the most unique books that I've read, that is 100% correct. One of the most unique books I've read. But it was nothing like I thought it was gonna be, which kind of upset me, but also like the story was awesome anyway. Muse of Nightmares, I did get a bit lost at some points, and it took me a lot longer to read this one. I nearly DNF'd it, but then I continued and it ended up being a 4 star. But I did really love this series. It took me a long time and I wasn't into reading, which is probably why it took that long. Basically it's about a boy called Laszlo Strange, aka Strange the Dreamer, who's not just wanting to stick into his routines and stuff. He's very whimsical. He works at the library. He's very into stories, and he has this story stuck in his head about a place called Wheat, and people from that civilization comes to his town asking for aid and help, and he goes and volunteers, and basically it's just a story of Wheat and why no one remembers it and thinks it's a myth. And I don't know, I don't really know how to explain it because I read it so long ago, but I really do recommend reading for something like a unique time, I guess. And plus Laszlo, I love him. He is amazing. Freaking love him. Amazing. And then the last books that I've read in November was these books. I was starting my reread of the Tog series, and I actually read all of these in November within 2 weeks, so I kind of got back into reading. But I annotated 3 of them just because I wanted to annotate all of them, but then by the time I got to Queen of Shadows, I just wanted to read and not annotate, so that's why none of those are annotated. I'm actually 140 pages into Empire of Storms, which is part of my December TBR. So yeah, I'll go through each of these. Assassin's Blade, wasn't a reread. This is my first time reading it. I think I gave it a 4 or 4.5. I loved that Sarah J Maas gave us backstories to some of the characters that we meet later on, and I really liked learning about Ansel and Sam. I wasn't really connected to Sam as I was to other like love interest in the story. I felt like the love was very quick and not thought through. I don't really know how to explain that, which is why it lost the 1/2 star, just because I wasn't personally connected to Sam, so I wasn't upset with what happened as much as I should have been. But it was really good, and I love learning about how she got to Endeavour and about Arobin and all of that sort of stuff. So 4.5 stars. Throne of Glass, it's the first book in the series, so I'm gonna have to give it a 5 star. I do think it's a little bit slow just because I've reread the whole series, so I know what's gonna happen. It's a bit slow in that sense, but Nehemia has my heart. I freaking love her. Cole, even though this is a really unpopular opinion, I actually do really love Cole throughout the whole series. He does muck up, but doesn't everybody muck up at one point? Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So 5 stars. I did annotate this one. No, I just annotated this one because I only just got back into annotating, so I didn't want to ruin my only copies of the book. And I'm actually getting 2 more hardcovers of the series for Christmas, so I'm really excited because then I can start building my collection. Crown of Midnight, I think I gave this a 5 star. I really, really like this. I didn't realize that the ending of this book was in this book. I thought that was the beginning of Heir of Fire. I don't know why, but I loved it. Amazing. I think I actually ended up writing in this. Let me have a look. Yeah, I started actually annotating in this one. And I've actually picked up on a lot of foreshadowing throughout the reread. So there's a lot of light purple for foreshadowing, and it's really interesting to see how Sarah J Maas is putting in plot points at the beginning of these books that eventually will play out in 3 books time. Like, I think that's so interesting. I don't know, I think that's part of a reread though, finding those points. So yeah, 5 stars. Heir of Fire was my favorite book the first time around I read this series. I gave it a 5-star both this time and last time. This time around, it's actually in a tie with Queen of Shadows for favourite books. I think it's going to change when I reread Empire Storms and Kingdom of Ash, but for now, these are a tie of my first. So I actually really love this one, and there's a lot of pink for Rowan because how can there not be? I freaking love him. Let me see if I can find a cute quote. Anyway, literally as soon as he appears on page, I just wrote, I remember why this is my favourite book now. Love it. This is definitely great. I love that magic and fae actually start coming into play in this book, which is one of my favorite aspects of the series, is magic, because that's one of my favorite things to read about. So I think that's why this is one of my favorites. So 5 stars. And then Queen of Shadows. I didn't annotate this one because I was really, really intensely reading this, because the first time I read this book, it put me in a book slump, and I DNF'd it and then picked it up again, and then I continued the series. But this time around, I don't know why I was in a slump last time I read it, because this is a masterpiece. Loved it. 5 out of 5 stars this time around. I loved everything that happened. Aedion, Lysandra, like, I love it. I don't know why I gave it like a 3 stars last time I read it. It was actually really beautiful. But yeah, so those are all the books that I've read in the last 6 months. I'm hoping to read quite a bit in December to catch up on the books that I should have read throughout the year. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about Sarah J Maas, and I hope you have a great night, great day. If you like Bookstagram, my Bookstagram is Sloth Reading if you wanted to check that out. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.